What's up, what it do, cyber world? It is your girl, the one and only Ash Brown, and this is Ash Brown Uncensored. On this show, I talk a little bit about everything. It may be pop culture related, but it's probably Ash Brown related. So you gotta stay tuned to see what I'm gonna talk about. Today, we're talking about this fabulous skin that I'm in. I'm in a great season of life, and I want to celebrate that. So, I went to an event recently, and as I've shared with a lot of you guys, I just moved back to Georgia a little over a couple months ago, almost a year ago. And so I haven't been to a lot of the places and things that I used to really frequent, especially like as a full-time blogger. And so I went to an event this past week, and I saw someone that I hadn't seen in a while, and it was good seeing them. And the first thing that she said was, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing with your skin? Your skin looks fabulous." And I just smiled to oneself. And I just told her, I just started taking better care of my skin. And that means morning, noon, and night. See, when I was a talent, like acting, modeling, all that stuff, instructor, I wasn't taking consistent care of myself, period, much less my skin. If I knew that I had an event that weekend, that whole week, I was on my regimen, mornings, nights, and all that stuff, doing the mask. But then afterwards, after the event, I would do like a deep cleaning mask, and then probably skip it for a week or so. Or I may do like one or two of the routines throughout the week, but not be consistent with it. My skin now is the best that it's ever been in the last 20-something years. And a lot of it just comes to being about figuring out what your skin likes. My skin, the main proportions of what I do on a daily basis is I cleanse, I tone, I use my serum, I moisturize, and I got my SPF. So my sunscreen. And so with the cleansers, I've got several different cleansers. And if you guys want to know what cleansers I'm using this week, message me. Message me, leave a comment below. Hey, what are the cleansers that you're using? Good Molecules had a really good deal on a lot of their stuff. They had bundles, and they had the $15 refrigerator. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need that refrigerator in my life. So I got the refrigerator. It's kind of loud, but it does a job. It keeps everything really chill, really cool and calm. So my typical routine is I'll use one of my cleansers. And what's been helpful for me in like really cleaning the skin and making sure that it's at its best cleanliness, I use disposable towels. So disposable wipes. Now, usually you'll have like a face towel, and that may have been a really big part of why my skin was always like breaking out and having issues and stuff, is because I would be using the same towels over and over again. You're washing it and stuff in between, but all that bacteria is still on those towels. So I started using those disposable towels, and I'll use that to cleanse my skin from the cleanser. Then I go in with cotton balls, and I use my toner. So, and it could be any toner that you prefer. For a while, I was using rose water. I use rose water when I'm trying to like cut the sunscreen and make it a little bit more smooth onto my face. But I'll typically use a toner. After the toner, penetrates my skin, it's feeling all good, smooth, I'll then use my serum. So that could be hyaluronic acid, could be discoloration, could be vitamin C. It just really depends on what I'm feeling that day or that evening. After I put in my serum, and I make sure that my serum really seeps in, then I'll put on my moisturizer. And I've just, like I said, I've got kind of a nice little regimen going on, but I notice now that my skin is at its best today, which is insane. Like way better than when I was acting, way better than when I was doing a lot of stuff and I was very visible and I was trying to get my skin to look flawless, basically like how it looks today. So I'm just very grateful for it, and consistency is key. I will say that consistency is key. So you can't just keep up a good regimen 1 week, 2 week. It needs to be on a regular basis. And also when I was flying, when I was a flight attendant, there were some days that we would get into our overnights and I'd be completely exhausted. And I'm like, I don't care about using my cleansers tonight, or I'm not going to do the full routine because I'm exhausted. My body is tired. I need rest. I need sleep. And that would always take priority. So being on a semi-regular schedule now, going into the office, I have multiple screens that I'm using, so I always make sure to use my SPF. Shout out to Drew Barrymore for letting us know that, yes, even though we may be working indoors, we still need to put on our SPF, especially if we're in front of multiple screens like I am. And it just works. It just works for me. And like I said, to have that person that I haven't seen in probably maybe like 6 or 7 years since I've, lived in Georgia for real. And for them to, compliment me like that, I felt really good. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing something right. So that is my little tidbit. Again, if you guys want to know what I'm using or how I switch things up, because I have multiple cleansers that I kind of rotate in between too. It just kind of depends on the type of day that I'm having. But I've noticed now that my skin has become acclimated to this routine of the cleansing and the toning. And exfoliation is also key too. You need to exfoliate at least once a week. If you can fit it in there maybe 2 to 3 times a week, even better. But exfoliation is very important, especially if you're trying to even out your skin tone. My skin is prone to blemishes, so that is just like an ongoing battle. But even with the blemishes, they're kind of like blending in now. And I'm like, yes, honey, blend in, yes. And so that's my little tidbit for the day. Anyways, I hope that you guys have a great, fantabulous, wonderful, just extremely powerful, purposeful, and peaceful week ahead. I will holla at y'all later. Deuces.